Welcome to Indie Authors Tell All, where independent voices take the mic. This podcast is for those engaged in or interested in independent publishing, from writing to marketing and everything in between.
We're here to shine a light on real-world challenges and successes in independent publishing, straight from the people making it happen.
Every other week, we chat with Bay Area Independent Publishers Association members and industry professionals who are shaping the future of publishing and redefining what it means to go indie.
I'm Becky Parker Geist.
I'm Judy M. Baker.
And I'm Mike Van Horn.
Real stories, real challenges, real inspiration. Now, let's dive into what it takes to write, publish, and market your book, one story at a time.
Hello, everybody. This is Independent Authors Tell All, podcast of the Bay Area Independent Publishers Association, or BAIPA. Now, we're here for authors to dig into the challenges of writing and publishing and promoting. I'm Mike Van Horn, one of the hosts. Today, we'll be talking with Patricia Sullivan, author of Overland, Before the Hippie Trail, Kathmandu and Beyond, with a van, a man, and no plan. Patricia, you want to hold up the cover?
Okay. There it is.
All right. You can see, for our non-video people, we have a classic VW van driving up a narrow road towards snow-covered mountains. And that's kind of typical of this trip, I would guess. Let's jump right in. I just want to say that to those of us of a certain age, that's really an alluring subject. Tell us about it.
First, thanks, Mike, for inviting me to be on this today. I really appreciate it. I love to talk about this book, and I love to talk about our trip. And I also love to get responses from people like you who say, oh, I remember doing that or something like that, and maybe it was a little later or whatever. But so many people who've read my book say that, oh, it just reminds me of all the, all the things we went in that you name in the book. So this trip that my husband and I took was in 1965. We left the U.S. and we didn't return for 2 years. We hadn't expected. I mean, like the title is, that we had no plan. We just left. We thought we'd get jobs in Europe, and we sort of did. It was September of 65, and I had thought at the time, maybe we'll be back for Christmas, I told my parents. Turns out we just kept going east. We left Europe. We ended up actually in Japan 2 years later. But driving through Turkey and then Lebanon, it's Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, India, Nepal, where we sold the car. That was about
possibly
a year.
Drive that trip these days.
That's one of the things about this book that I'm so glad that I wrote it all down, because you can't do that now. Life was different, and countries were different, and wars were different. But we just kept going. After we sold the car, we went on buses and trains and hitchhiked and ships and made our way around Southeast Asia, which was at war. We were at war in Vietnam at that time, up to Japan, and then sailed back through the Golden Gate.
Wow, what a trip.
Cisco.
So this is a great trip. What led you to write the book about it?
Good question. It took me a long time. The trip was about, 60 years ago now, 65. And it wasn't until about 2000. In fact, it was 2009. It was time. I had retired. We had moved to a new place. We had boxes of things. And one of the boxes was all the letters, all the journals, all the trip log, the maps, the slide pictures. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start on this. It was in the fall of 2009. I thought it's a new year starting and I'm going to go through it. What I really wanted to do was to make a record for myself, because all of the letters and the slides, and we had piles of them, but they weren't coordinated. I just wanted to have an account for me. And at the same time, I thought, well, our kids, our grandkids, they might like to read it too, which did happen. So I worked on that just every day, most days anyway, for about 3 years, or actually more than that. Just making a record. I put everything in there, thinking it's not going to be published, but we'll give some copies out.
So the challenge would be, how do you write clearly about something that happened 60 years ago?
It's not easy because I'm a different person, of course, than I was at 23. We all are. And to put myself back in that place was hard. But of course, I had the letters. We had 115 letters that both my husband wrote, mostly to his parents, and I wrote to my parents. And we had journals that we both kept. Every couple of days we'd write in journals. So I had these views in our own words at that time. So in the book, I used a lot of those quotes from the letters and from the journals. And then that reminded me of who I was then. And the rest of the time, I just tried to go back and look again from the outsider's point of me, basically.
So as you were doing this, what were some of the difficulties you encountered in the writing process or getting it published and then doing the marketing?
All 3 steps were different. Of course, the writing, well, one of them was to see me as me then. The other was, in some places, the writing, we had notes, like, for instance, there was a town in Pakistan that off a main highway going to Lahore. We wanted to see the Indus River, so we turned off the main highway, and we knew it was east. So we just kept going and found this little town. And I had to say a little story about in the book about the Shah that we met, or that actually he was a prince. But we didn't know what the name of that was, because I hadn't named it. I didn't know the name. So actually, my husband did a lot of the research with this, going online and looking for a town or looking for a place, getting all the information you can get now. And we found that town. And it had to be the one because we knew how long it had taken us to get it. And we knew you couldn't go farther east than the Indus River with cues like that. So there were a lot of pieces of this book that took a lot of research into being certain that I had the right place, the right time. I mean, the internet was invaluable. Of course, we didn't have that back in the 60s.
Right. Yeah. So,
And that was the 60s.
a lot of people are writing memoirs, recapturing ancient parts of their lives. And so what you did is kind of a role model for what they go through. What advice would you give to a memoir writer who's kind of following in your footsteps?
Well, I hope if you're going to write a memoir, I hope you kept notes. I hope you kept journals. I hope you kept photographs. I hope you labeled the photographs, because it's very hard to go back and find those things. Luckily, I had, even though we weren't planning to publish it, I had all that material. So if you don't have that, I know you have to rely on your memory, which is something different. But if you've got anyone that has the notes, or if you think you're going to write in the future, keep the notes. And the publishing, you also asked about the publishing. I didn't know anything about how to publish a book. In fact, the first thing that I did, as I said, I just wanted it for my family. I took my manuscript to a local copy place, and I remember saying, "Hi there, can you make this look like a book?" And he said, "Sure." And he did, and it turned out fine. Too long and it needed some work, but it did what I want. It looked like a book. I handed it out to some cousins and sisters and brother-in-law and got lots of good feedback. So then it was then it was COVID 2020. I mean, what was it? That's right. Yeah, 20.
Yeah.
That everything shut down, and I thought, okay, this is the time now. I'm home. I'm stuck at home. I'll go back to that original photocopied one and see what I can do. I contacted some agencies, spent some time with letters and resumes, and didn't get anywhere. Got a few answers like it'll take a couple of years. And somebody told me about BAIPA. It was a friend who had just published something, and she said, if you want information, just check out this organization, which I did, and I couldn't have done it without them. I didn't know what an ISBN number was. I didn't know what you need to put on that front cover. I didn't know about editors and what they can do. So I read a lot, but I got most of the information from the BAIPA meetings, which were fantastic. Still are. I still go every month.
So your route to overcoming some of these things was working with BAIPA and the resources that it has available.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
The marketing, it was a different. I didn't know how much it was going to cost, and I mean, we managed it, but it costs. You got to pay for it all up front, pretty much on your own.
Yes, that's right.
And it's the marketing is not my favorite part. I have to kind of force myself.
I think that's a universal feeling among authors.
Yeah.
As an author, you know that writing a book is not easy, and that publishing and promoting it can be even harder. Wish you had fellow authors and professionals you could learn from, who would give you encouragement and guidance to get through the tough spots? That's what we offer at the Bay Area Independent Publishers Association, or BAIPA. We're a volunteer-run educational community dedicated to elevating the art and the business of independent publishing. Not in the San Francisco Bay Area? No worries. We have members from all over, and we meet monthly on Zoom. For just $10 a month, you get full membership benefits. Whether you're writing your next novel or children's book, launching a nonfiction book, building your author brand, or working with indie authors, BAIPA gives you the tools and the network to publish smarter, grow faster, and thrive independently. Visit BAIPA.org. That's BAIPA.org and join us today. Become part of a community that understands all the challenges of indie publishing and helps you get through them.
So first you published a paperback book, but then you did an ebook as well as an audio book. What were the differences among these three editions?
Well, the easiest was the ebook, and I found out about these because of through BAIPA that I should keep going, and it was not hard to do. I got addresses and contacts through BAIPA and through the final editor that helped me a lot in having the right formatting. So basically, I didn't do much for the ebook. I was really glad now it's selling a lot. I mean, selling probably more. I don't know if more than the paperback, but ebooks are popular. And the audio came a little bit later, like the next year, again, because people out there are using more and more of audio reading, listening on audiobooks. So again, got information through BAIPA and decided to go with Becky Parker Geis with Pro Audio, she was the president. She is the president, isn't she?
Yes.
BAIPA. So that was another whole thing. I did not read it myself. I thought about it and thought it'd be too hard, and I don't have the equipment, and it seemed sort of like acting, the reading part. So I chose a reader through the company.
Seems like your book, audiobook, is the ideal thing for somebody to listen to as they're driving across the country.
I think that sounds that's great. I hope people do it.
So what are you most
Running
pleased about
around
with
the
your book?
streets, when they're running around running, walking, doing the dishes. I mean, anytime it could work.
Yeah. What are you most pleased about with your book?
Well, I'm most pleased that it's out there, and I get tickled all the time when I get emails from people or responses, people I meet saying that they're taking the trip. I hadn't really thought that I was taking people on a trip, but I was in the book, and that's how a lot of people have seen it. And I got an email from someone I didn't know, and he said, "I'm in Turkey and about ready to go into Syria." And I didn't know who who was this person and who do I know that's in Turkey? And then I realized it was somebody who was reading the book and just internalizing it in their travels. So, I think that's fun, and that's probably the best thing about it for me is all the contact I get from people who are reading it and reliving their own, in some cases, their own travels, or getting ideas of what they wish they had done or what they plan to do.
Well, so what do you want to say about this that we haven't gone over yet?
Well, one of the things that I'm really pleased with is that Stanford University has asked me. They contacted me and said, could they use my? Well, first they said, uh, we wonder what kind of primary data you have and what you're doing with it, and would you like to talk to us about putting it in their archives? And I said, wow, of course I would. It's just I have all this stuff sitting in a cardboard box in my closet. So they are now in the process of digitizing all of our slides, all of the letters, trip the trip log, um, everything, which will be available when that's done, which should be this year, I think. Anybody then can go into Stanford University archives and see our original journey.
That's fascinating. That must really make you proud.
It does. It really does. And I hadn't even thought of this. And as I said, I was approached by them, by the head of the archives, the curator, who said he had seen the book, he had read the book, and would like to have more. He said post World War II firsthand information,
Mm.
travel about the world as it was back then. So there it is.
So what's your next project?
I'm still working on the first one with marketing, but
Ah, yes. But that'll go on forever.
I've been reading a lot lately of my mother's journals. Probably I kept a lot of records because of my mother and my grandmother. Both of them have journals of their lives. My grandmother's back to 1890s, but my mother's in 1920s, 1930s, when she was a young girl before she met my dad, and then more after she met him when they were at college. And I found them fascinating to see her. And so maybe I'll try to do another kind of memoir of my mother, or somehow bring some of that to life of being a young girl in the 20s and 30s.
That sounds a very worthy project. And
Not a big trip like this, but there was enough of she went to Cal Berkeley and got a degree there, and my dad. So I'll work on that.
my younger brother did a book like that for our family, going back several generations, getting stories from the various people and editing them and putting them in a book is fascinating. Unless you can actually read these real stories about those who came before you, they're just kind of names in a book rather than real people to you.
Yes, right. And yeah, as you write your own family, you recognize, you learn more about yourself just by reading your own history.
Yeah. Yes. So, any final words?
Well, you can go to my website.
All right. Well, that was my next question. How do people find your book?
Probably best is through my website. It's patriciansullivan.com.
N as in Nancy.
Right.
Okay. patriciansullivan.com. Good.
Lots of pictures there too.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you for this, Patricia. I want to ask all of you out there to please subscribe to this podcast so that you can get inspired by other authors. We're doing a new podcast every week now. And also check out BAIPA, Bay Area Independent Publishers Association. You heard Patricia talk about how it had helped her get published and get the whole thing off the ground. And we do this very reasonably priced, and we hold monthly meetings by Zoom, and we have members all over the world. It's really the best bargain support for authors anywhere. And that's BAIPA.org, BAIPA.org. And I think with that, we will call this to a close.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Indie Authors Tell All, a podcast from the Bay Area Independent Publishers Association.
Be sure to subscribe so you never miss our bi-weekly conversations with authors, publishers, and experts who keep indie publishing vibrant.
You can learn more and join our community at BAIPA.org. That's BAIPA.org. You don't have to live in the Bay Area to join us, since we're live on Zoom for all our events. You can email your questions and feedback to us at podcast@BAIPA.org. That's podcast@BAIPA.org. Thanks so much for joining us on the Indie Authors Tell All podcast.